Namibia needs me and Namibia needs you. Welcome to the podcast that breaks down some events from the news in really simple terms so that we can all get involved.
Today we are joined by a very interesting guest, Shakira Gates, a social media influencer that is basically an all-rounder, a jack of all trades.
Yeah, she's been doing this since she was 13 years
Yeah.
old. She's into events management, she's into finance, but she's increasingly saying, I should be educating people on civic principles. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Our first story today is on the GIPF.
Yes, a very interesting story. Close to $1 billion lost from the government institution of pension funds.
Government Institution Pension Fund, which is an important thing, right? Because what is the GIPF? Can you tell us?
I mean, what I see it as is we go to work, we're working to earn a salary, and the reason why you're working is so that at the point where you can no longer work, you actually have funds to take care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
But then when I see a headliner like this in the newspaper, whatever, I'm like, what?
Yes.
This is the reason why I don't open up a newspaper.
Yes.
This
So
is the
frightening.
reason why
Okay.
I don't get into things like this.
Exactly. It's so frightening. And I don't know if everyone understands just exactly what you just explained about what the GIPF is. So, normal everyday workers, government employees go to work every day, and their safety net for the day that they can't earn a salary anymore is the GIPF.
Yes.
It's I'm putting all of my savings into this fund, and they will look after me and they will make sure that I can survive when I can no longer work. It's such an important thing. So it makes you as frightened as it did me initially.
It definitely did. I mean, when I was in, it's not small money. Come on now,
Yeah.
it's close to $1 billion.
Namibian dollars,
Like
yeah.
it's
Okay, so but my first thought was, before I read further, is that when it comes to investment funds, they do this, right?
Yeah.
So if you're scared of big numbers, then it's going to freak you out on any given Tuesday when the markets just dip. And that's when you look at them zoomed in. Short term, they do this. But long term, they do that.
Yeah.
So is in a big national fund 800 million just a small dip, or is that's part of a bigger rise, or is it a catastrophe?
I don't know. Any way you look at it, it is a catastrophe because it's still a lot of money. And at the end of the day, how do they determine who lost it? Wh- How do we go about that?
So
That's what I don't understand. Like,
that's the issue, right? It's access to information, isn't it,
Yeah.
Janola?
Yeah, because the idea is that this money is meant to cater for people, after retirement. But the moment that you have such huge amounts lost, and in this case, we are hearing that it was through an investment in South Africa, and the rate of recovery is like maybe they could only recover 100 million out of that money. That is what they're saying. So what would then happen? Would it affect the ordinary citizen? Would it then affect those that have been investing in the fund? I think this
Okay,
is the
no,
kind
so
of
it
information we
definitely
need. Yeah.
affects all of our pensions, which is huge.
Yeah.
But when I read further, and I was like, okay, this is not just a dip, because there was loans given out to Namibians and Namibian businesses, of which none in that period were paid back or recovered. So then it becomes an issue of accountability. Then it becomes an issue of how do we get access to that information so that we can see who to hold accountable for how these decisions were made and why there's no repercussions. No one was jailed. Everyone got money. Who got money? How? How was that decided? And why were there no repercussions for all of them failing? I mean, a certain failure point is expected and obvious, but for all of them, 100%. So that becomes worrying. That becomes, oh, okay, it's obviously not just a dip in the markets. There's something smelling going on here, and that's why our Access to Information Act, which when was that, in 2022?
Yeah, in 2022, and I know recently also the Minister of Information mentioned that the Access to Information bill will now be, or was tabled, I think.
No, it's no longer a bill. It's already an act. It has already been enacted. It hasn't been put in force. It's not
wait,
being
wait,
used
wait, wait.
yet.
Since when?
Yes, 2022.
Damn.
So when fish shot started really blowing up, I mean, South Africa's Access to Information Bill Act has been enforced for close to 2 decades at least. And so on the foot of that, we were also realizing, okay, we need similar legislation because our foundational legislation was similar. It's really taken a long time for us to get that going. I do understand that, to make it possible to collect all that data and disseminate all that data for each government institution costs money. You need people collecting it,
Okay, but if
right?
we're losing 815 Come on.
Good point.
Come on.
Good point.
I don't even think it's gonna cost them more than $1 million just to get the information out to everyone.
Could be in excess of that, I think. So we have to have people like you and I pushing for that legislation to be, okay, it's enforced, but for it to actually be starting to work for us, for that information to be made available to us, so we can just not lose money that could be going to feeding hungry kids in our country, right?
Or money that could be potentially going towards development, And interestingly, Ethne and Shakira, I think this is not the first time we hear something of this nature from GIPF. I explicitly remember in 2019, another 600 million Namibian dollars was lost. And again, it was loans made out to businesses, made out to investors, but that was never paid back. I think it's high time we also look at the institution's recovery rate of loans, Maybe these loans are towards to help MSMEs and things like that, but the ability to recover that money so it does more, I think they need to restructure that approach a little bit, yeah.
I just want to say this is exactly the reason why we don't read the newspapers anymore. This is why I don't read the newspapers anymore. I mean, we can clearly see that the Namibian youth is more interested in the beef between Spuza and Shacks
Yeah.
than these type of concerns. I mean, because you go on social media, you open up the newspaper, whatever, and then it's just so much and so much millions, not thousands, millions or billions got lost, got stolen, got whatever. And it's like you immediately get so frustrated at this because do these people realize that they have to leave something for us? Like, we are gonna
That's
be
actually a really strong point.
yeah. So what's gonna happen? Like if everything is happening like this, what's gonna happen with us?
Well-
Where is our country gonna go then?
What do you think is going to happen?
I don't. Why do I have a feeling the military will just take over? Like imagine like NDF taking over our country. Then what?
What will happen does not look pretty.
Yeah,
and
it
you're
doesn't.
articulating that.
Yeah.
What has been released by the ECN most recently?
Yes, so basically, just to give us a little bit of a background, on 16 October, the ECN basically finalized the nomination of all political parties and independent candidates and associations that will be running for the regional and local authority elections, right? Now, what they finally did was once the lists, well, they didn't release the list, but we did see the exact numbers. What they then did was they printed ballot papers to those effect. So, for instance, if you look at my particular constituency, Kadudra Central, now we have 7 candidates running, some from political parties.
Okay, so that was my understanding, sorry.
Yeah.
Is they have released all of the candidates or only some of the candidates? Which
They have
candidates?
announced who are the
You
candidites.
see,
I'm
we
a
have
bit
to take it slow. You
Yes,
see.
But
yes,
lost.
okay.
Can I backtrack for you?
I want to know when did this even start? I didn't know that there was even a voting in process right now.
Okay,
Like,
so do you know that we have a bicameral parliament, right? So we've got the National Assembly, which is the people who write our laws. So they come and they say, I'm representing Shakira, and Shakira told me that she wants a new law on access to information because she wants to make sure that the GIPF doesn't steal any more money.
Okay.
And then they're standing there in Parliament and they draft the law for you. And then any law that the National Assembly drafts has to go through the National Council. But now who's the National Council? National Council is a whole other body that writes legislation or approves legislation. They can also suggest, but they review. And they come from the regions. So whereas last year we voted for our president and
The National
our
Assembly.
National Assembly, ministers are elected by the president. This year we're voting for the people in our regions, in our towns, in our municipalities, who we want to say, listen, I don't want Windhoek to decide what happens to me here in Keetmans. I want my Keetmans people to decide what happens here.
which makes more sense.
Right, so that's the regional elections. And from the people we elect to look after our regions, they elect the National Council. So nothing is allowed to be decided by central government without regional government. So that's kind of my quick introduction
Yes.
to who are we voting for this year?
So basically, on that note, Shakira, this year we are gonna vote for our constituency councillors and our local authority councillors. Your local authority councillors are your village councillors, your town councillors, or your municipality councillors. Okay, maybe just look at Windhoek. Today Windhoek has 15 councillors, right?
Now you're getting into all those numbers that...
So those are the councillors.
But I'm a number person,
Oh,
so
that's also true. Okay.
So those are the 15 councillors you'll be voting for City of Windhoek. But maybe you come from a particular constituency, maybe Windhoek West or Windhoek East. That's where you're voting for your single councillor. That's now the councillor or the government in your neighborhood. So those are the elections taking place on the 26th of November.
I mean, I think I had one lesson in grade 6
Really?
about how this. I'm not even joking right
No,
now.
but we're not even joking because people that we speak to are like, they've never heard this ever.
Yeah.
Never taught in their schools. And we want it to be taught in our schools because how can we
Yeah.
have people, young people, saying, I want to be part of this. I'm not going to just be an ostrich, put my head in the sand, never read a paper, never vote. Obviously, that's what's going to happen if no one's being like, this is how it works. This is how you can make it work for you.
I don't think we want to be like that.
Of course, no one does.
But it's the lack of information around
yeah,
it.
yeah.
It doesn't make it nice for us either.
So that's
I
what's
mean,
happening.
I'm very open-minded to learning now what's actually going on in my country because we don't realize that it affects our daily lives. You go into the shop, you see bread is 25 Namibian dollars, and you're like, what? How is bread this expensive now? But then you have to know what's actually going on. This and this happened. This is why this is happening. But it's because we don't really get into it as the youth. And I think that's why, in the first place, I was like, I like Namibia Needs Me because it's not just informing me, but it's informing everyone else out there that might just be as lost as me. And I'm very comfortable coming on here and saying, I do not know. I don't know what's going on. And if I can be informed in this way, which is, it's fun. It's fun. It's nice.
So tell me what you think of this, right? So Janola actually has this personal anecdote, and I'm going to paraphrase it for us. When he was an election observer, so one of those people who counts our votes last year, they told him that if your cross touches the line, the outside of the little box, that it's not counted. Your vote is not counted. And that's just the rule. And the minute I heard this, you're hearing it for the first time. Thoughts, feelings?
It's stupid.
Because rules need reasons, right?
It really doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. But everyone in that I don't know, counting house, I don't know what the correct technical term is from the ECN, were like, okay, cool, and discounted votes because the line of the cross touched the outside line of the box.
Okay, I have a question. When you're voting, right? It's just you. Is it in a cubicle?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's you in a cubicle alone. No
Yeah.
one else is with you, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's say I am an individual. I was affected by polio or when I was a baby or whatever. And I have a slight deformity in my right hand. But I've learned how to write with my right hand. So I want to make a change in this country. I want to go vote. And I go do my voting. And unfortunately, I have to write with my slightly deformed right hand. And it slightly touches the line or whatever. My vote is still there. Yeah. Why is it that my vote does not count?
Yeah. And you see, this smells suspicious because it suggests something like, okay, we want to have less votes from people in this area or whatever, so we're making this rule in this area. But we want to just highlight the importance for everyone who's listening this is obviously not a legal rule. It's a made-up rule, and possibly for the wrong reasons. But be aware of this type of misinformation going around, even within the groups of people counting your vote, and just err on the side of caution and make sure that your little cross does not touch any of the lines of the box that is being made in.
Because I don't think that they informed me beforehand about this, right?
No, because they can't, because it wouldn't make sense, because it's not a reasonable law. Or not, it is not a law, it's not a reasonable rule.
And I think what is also important for us to remember, especially as voters, maybe first time or not, is that while you are in that little cubicle and you make a mistake, let's say, or whatever, you have the right to say, look, can I have another ballot?
Yes.
Then what the presiding officer or the ECN agent will do is they will take that, they'll put a little stamp on it to show that it's spoiled, and then they will give you another one.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you have the right to re-vote again. Don't put a tick. Don't put a little heart, because that is now also an unapproved mark. So always just make sure you do your part. Place your X correctly inside the box.
So Shakira's not joining us at the ballots this year, but we're going to keep having these conversations. And we often talk about decentralization here. Very few of us understand that the importance of this year's elections, as opposed to last year's, is decentralization. It's like sharing of power. It's a check and balance. It's the type of thing we really want to support as people who believe in democracy. So we'll keep talking about it, and hopefully we'll see it
In the next cycle.
Thank you.
We can make a difference, you know.
Absolutely.
So if there's something like this that can raise awareness or like inform the youth about what's going on, I mean, why not use our platforms to promote it?
I love it, Shakira. It's been so nice to talk to you. I love your enthusiasm and your bubbly honesty and your passion and your smarts. Thank you very much for joining us.
Wow, what a great discussion we've had with Shakira. And it is very interesting to see that there's so much that we need to learn as young people. In order to learn that, I want to encourage you. Visit Namibia Needs Me on our Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, and of course, our website. A resource database that is made just for you for all things civic education.